Discussed his future at Manchester United after saying that he felt the club was trying to force him out over the summer. Speaking on the Rio Ferdinand Presents YouTube channel, Fernandes admitted that he had chances to leave the club in the past, but feels he's made the right choice in staying.
When I came to the club, a part of loving being here and loving the club, I think my loyalty was like in the toughest periods I had the club, and I could have left in 2 times. The club said, no, we need you. And I said, okay, you gave me something, I will give you something. Obviously, I think the time at the club has not been as I wanted, because obviously I wanted to lift trophies and I haven't lifted as many as I should and I could. But at the same time, I think everything I've done for the club in a certain way was still very important, and not taking nothing away from other players that were here and everything. I think when we struggled the most, I said present to the club, and I think everyone at the club, I hope, is aware of that, because the chances I had were very good. I don't do and I don't think in anything else more than football apart my family. That's my number one thing, and nothing different. So I'm very aware that I could have done a different path. I could have gone in a different way and probably winning more trophies and people talking about me in a different way, because I've had trophies into my cabinet. So nowadays people talk more like you are a better player or a worse player if you win or you lose trophies.
Yeah, the Manchester United captain saying a big part of why he wants to continue on at Old Trafford is his desire to deliver more silverware, and believes the team can bring that success to the club in the future.
I stayed here because I think I still can win trophies here. Yeah. I wouldn't have stayed here if the club hasn't told me like our aim is still to get the highest we can be, get back to winning trophies, get back to be the club we were before. Because if that was not the aim, then yes, I wouldn't have stayed here. But because I know the aim of the club is still to get back to where they want to be and where I want the club to be, and that's why I came to the club in first place. So if I can help to get back there, that's all I want to do.
Now, our football correspondent Rob Dorset joins me now. We've heard a lot, haven't we, from Bruno Fernandes in the last few days. What do you make of his comments that we're hearing today?
Well, I think the first thing to do is put that interview into context.
Yeah.
You and I were just chatting about this while we heard him talking there, and a lot of people, and especially Manchester United fans, will be saying, well, why hasn't he addressed those pretty seismic comments that he made in that Portuguese TV interview? Well, that Portuguese TV interview for Canal 11, I think it was, where he said he was hurt because the club wanted me to leave, he said, and felt a bit unwanted, and that he suggested some of his teammates didn't value the club as much as he had. That interview was done almost a month ago. This interview with Rio Ferdinand happened in the gap between that being recorded and being broadcast. So that's why Rio Ferdinand didn't ask about it. Nobody knew that was the case right there. But I thought the headlines that came out of it were really interesting there. Firstly, the fact that he says he had 2 opportunities to leave. Everybody would be intrigued what they were, because we know one of them was the chance to go to Al Hilal for £100 million, but he and United turned that down between them. And also he felt he could have won more trophies by leaving, but feels that staying at Manchester United, he can still win trophies there. And for me, I think that says that Bruno Fernandes is very aware of his United legacy right now. He wants to be known as a Manchester United legend. I think he thinks he's of that calibre, but he happens to be playing for the club at a time when they're probably in their lowest ebb in the last 30 years. So he's conscious of that. But the fact that he says he thinks they can win more trophies with United still is a real mood change. And I think that speaks volumes of the job that Ruben Amorim has done, and maybe about the new guys that are running the place, that there's an optimism they can get back to where they want to be. There's a plan to get back to where they want to be. It might take some time, but United believe they can start winning trophies again. The fact that their captain believes that, I think, is significant.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's really good for you to clear up, because people will be questioning that.
It was confusing, isn't it?
Yes, but that was done in November, and that was done recently. OK, let's talk about the player that actually he's keeping out of the team, Kobbie Mainoo, because there's a lot about him at the moment as well. Yeah,
we broke this story earlier on today, and my understanding is that Manchester United will only consider selling Kobbie Mainoo in January if they were to get an exceptional offer for him. They don't want to sell him. and they certainly don't want to send him out on loan either. And whilst there's a string of Premier League clubs that would be interested in signing him, as far as we're aware, most of those would want to take him on loan. Only a handful of them could afford to pay what would be a very big transfer fee to Manchester United. He's still very much part of Ruben Amorim's plans, and he might not feel that right now because he's not been playing a lot. Hasn't started a single Premier League game all season. In fact, the only game he's played 90 minutes in was the second round defeat in the Carabao Cup to Grimsby Town, where nobody came out of it with any sort of reputation enhancement. The problem is it's been a huge falling of grace for him. Under Erik ten Hag, he was the star player and selected most weeks. They got him into the England squad. He then played and was in the heart of the England midfield in the European Championship final in Berlin. To go from that to under a new manager not featuring at all is tough for him, and I know he's struggling to sort of comprehend that and deal with that. He's very, very frustrated. But the truth of the matter is, if Bruno Fernandes was to get injured, Kobbie Mainoo would have an awful lot of game time pretty quickly, because that's how Amorim sees him, as a direct competition for Bruno Fernandes in that number 8 position. The other thing to point out is it makes no financial sense for Manchester United to send him out on loan. And you're looking at his brother there on Monday night in the game against Bournemouth. That did Kobbie Mainoo no favours at all, suggesting that he's unhappy and that he should be released almost from the prison that he's in. I know that wasn't well received inside the club. We don't know whether Mainoo himself had much to do with that or any knowledge of that. But the crucial factor is, if Manchester United were to send him out on loan, which would give him some game time, there's nothing in it for Manchester United. He's not one of the biggest earners, so they wouldn't recoup an awful lot of wages that they could spend elsewhere, and they would have to replace him, probably spending more money and getting somebody who doesn't know Manchester United and fit into the system as well as Kobbie Mainoo does. So why would they do that? I think unless he starts agitating for a move, I think he's going to stay at Manchester United in January and beyond. And he doesn't strike me as the sort of player that will agitate for a move. But he's clearly frustrated. Manchester United clearly want to keep him. Amorim does rate him. It's just unfortunate that he's competing with one of the best players in the Premier League right now in the same position, and he's not getting many opportunities. Add to that the fact that United aren't in Europe. They're not in the League Cup anymore. There aren't any extra games where Kobbie Mainoo might get an opportunity to impress. So he's stuck a little bit at the moment. And from the news I've been given today, I think he's going to be stuck there for a while.
OK, brilliant from you as always. Let's go to Dave, who's stood at the big screen with a wheel.
Yes, I am. More on that in a moment. Well, starting on Mainoo, actually, because he might get his chance again this weekend because of Casemiro's suspension, but also over the next few weeks because of the Africa Cup of Nations. This is my AFCON wagon wheel for you this evening. Here are all the players that are off to Morocco that are currently playing in the Premier League. Sunderland, up here, are going to be the ones suffering the most, with 6 players heading to the tournament. And next to them as well, as we've been talking about, Manchester United, they're going to be without Bryan Mbeumo, Amad Diallo and Noussair Mazraoui as well. So, how else have Manchester United going to be affected by this? Because, as you can see, the most goals and assists, goal involvements, and Mbeumo and Amad have contributed to 11 goals this season. That's the most for United alongside Fulham. So how will United cope? And will it prompt them to do things slightly differently? Against Bournemouth on Monday, the starting formation was Amorim's favoured 3 at the back, but the system altered in different phases of the game. We've got here United's average positions from that match with a noticeable shift that you might notice here. Lenny Yoro, for instance, shuffling over into a right-back zone with Diogo Dalot tucking in as a left-back. Also, Amad's position up here feels more like a right winger than a right wing-back that he has been playing in previously. Will this shape continue with a change in personnel, with Mbeumo, Amad and Mazraoui leaving for AFCON? Well, we're going to find out, because the last Super Sunday...
It comes back down to the Manchester United indecisiveness in respect of someone's come in for Bruno. You shut that down. Because Bruno didn't want to go. Bruno's saying that they said to him, well, it's up to you if you want to leave. Yeah. That's not what you want to hear from someone like him who's literally holding the club up himself. You want the club to say, you're not going nowhere. You're a massive part of this. Man United didn't do that. They gave him the opportunity to say, well, if you want to stay, you can stay, but if you want to go, you can go. What's that saying?
Maybe
I'll take him tomorrow.
Maybe they wanted to tell him to bring Kobbie in. T-shirt. Do we have a problem with that? Do we think that puts pressure on Kobbie?
You know,
I'm going to say 2 things here. One,
but there's so many silly things going on with footballers there.
I agree, right?
Jumping on it, it's just silly headlines.
You know what he does? Can I just say with the T-shirt? When I started saying, you don't need that.
Oh,
When you've got Paul Scholes iconic player, United, fighting your case. Nicky Butt fighting your case, saying, he's lost 18 months of development. What I look back at with Kobbie Mainoo is that when Ruben Amorim came in, first thing you started to hear the rumours was, he's getting rid of Garnacho, he's getting rid of Mainoo. So you look at where we are now, and you think, why didn't they then sign him up to a deal, Kobbie, because he's not playing, he's not going to play, sign him up to a deal, send him out on loan, and at least build the asset. Why wouldn't you do something like that instead of just continue not playing him? He's losing value, and now what? He's going to go on loan in January.
His value won't drop that much, Roy. There'll still be. No, I still think if someone wants.
You don't think that somebody like now, Roy, if he was playing out on loan now, doing what? Let's say he goes and does a Scott McTominay. Bam, he's gone through the roof in respect of what he's worth. Why aren't Man United doing that? Why didn't they do that? They've known a long time.
But he's still getting his moments. He came on the other night. I don't think his value's dropping that much. He's not getting enough moments where he can. When he came on the other night, from a football point of view, he looked neat and tidy, and he looked sharp, I thought, in fairness to him. But I don't think his value's going to drop that much. If the manager's not having him and come the summer, you go, OK, we'll cash in on him.
So what if Kobbie runs down his contract now? What if he runs down his contract now? Are we going to get the...
I feel
he's going to get the shit.
I feel he was probably right to want to get out if he knew that he wasn't going to get a chance and to go and get football ahead of a World Cup year when England haven't got a lot of players in that position. So I think he was right to want to go and get football. Yeah, I agree.
Get football at the club you're at.
Yeah, but if you think about
he's not got a chance there.
So, Roy, I think
he looks like somebody that does. It's not like we're reading about him. Oh, he's.
Can I tell you something, right? You know football.
He's been very quiet.
Football sometimes. People talk about challenges. You need to go out and loan, and that's worked out for loads of players. But sometimes at Man United, if you're youngest, the challenge is right in front of you. It's not at another club.
But Roy, there was a killer...
Roy can't see it with this manager.
No, there was a killer statement made by Amorim, I think, on Mainoo, which I think...
He's come up with lots of daft
stuff. No, but his statement was that it's Agati or Casemiro, it's Bruno or Kobbie. He sort of said that in a press conference.
He's putting Mainoo up against Bruno.
No, but when you put... No, but because he's going to play two in there. When you say you're up against Bruno always is going to play, plays every match. Yeah. So, in fact, he was actually telling Kobbie at the time, you're not going to play, basically. So, I get Kobbie's point of view that he's like, hang on a minute, if I can play alongside Bruno, great. But if it's me or him, he's always going to play. He's brilliant.
But what's football about? What's the life of a professional footballer? Is most of it you're trying to prove people wrong.
And how's he going to do that with Bruno, though, Roy?
But Bruno might get injured. You never know. You never know why. Bruno's talk. There was chat about Bruno leaving in the summer. Bruno might leave next summer. So you bide your time as a young player. I have no problem players going out on loan. If it can work for everybody. But sometimes a player, as I said, the biggest challenge. Everyone thinks, you need to go there. No. Your biggest challenge is here at Man United. Get into that first team. Even if the manager says, you're not going to get out of Bruno, you're not going to get him, go, do you know what? I'll prove you wrong. I'll get into that. I guarantee you, Bruno, there'll be chat about Bruno leaving again this summer. And the World Cup coming up. And he's getting a bit older. And he might fancy that.
We'll talk about that. I didn't think it was helpful for his brother to wear that.
No, it doesn't help.
It's social media, though, isn't it? Everything's for social media.
What did you think about...
It doesn't help.